Did you know that the average conversion rate for a B2B business is 2.23%? That's 2 out of 100 visitors. On a good day, I think it's time we went up and above average, and I know how we can do that. This is Sarah from User Guiding, and we're looking at the very best practices you can find on conversion rate and how to increase it. So without further ado, let's get to it. I don't know about you, but I'm a firm believer that roadmaps do work. So I've created a 5-step roadmap into optimizing your conversion rate. It goes mindset, research, website optimization, marketing, and mobile optimization. So let's take a look at each and the best practices for each. It's hard to achieve much if you don't have your priorities straight and some kind of strategy going on. So it is essential that you set up a conversion mindset before beginning to do anything. So our first best practice is empathy, and more empathy. Basically, here's the thing. If you have a lack of empathy for your users, potential buyers, they're simply not going to buy from you. Even if you are the very best at your game, even if your product is the very epitome of what your industry offers, because they're innately going to think, if they cannot make this experience good enough for me, then how good the product can be. If they cannot emphasize with my user experience, how are they going to solve my problem? And that is exactly why you want to empathize and put that into the entire conversion rate optimization process. Don't believe me? Remember the last time you came across a bad UX. Best practice number 2 is expectations versus reality. When you try to emphasize with your users, you automatically open up a different part of their psyche, their expectations. So basically, any user, any potential buyer has some sort of expectation from your product, and you have 2 paths to take. You're either going to emphasize the positive expectations or redefine the negative expectations. So for example, your possible buyer might be expecting seeing visuals on your website. You might want to reinforce it, and like Document 360 does, you might want to take it even further to impress them. Or you can choose to redefine their negative expectations. For example, they're going to be expecting to see some marketing, some promotion, something that will pop up on their screen. You might show them very psychologically, very discreetly, that you are not one of those people and that you actually care about their experience. And the last best practice of the mindset stage is to make sure that your value proposition is clear enough. So if you think your value proposition isn't necessarily very clear, you might want to ask yourself 3 questions. Why should your buyers buy anything? Why should they buy it now? And why should they buy it from you? Once you have answered these questions, you're going to have a very clear value proposition, and it is time to showcase it. If you're okay with that, let's move on to the second stage of the roadmap. The second stage of the roadmap is researching to convert. Now, no conversion happens for no reason, out of nowhere, randomly, unless of course you are not tracking it properly. And you always want to make sure that you're tracking it properly, because without proper research and proper planning, your conversion rate optimization plan is going to flop. So let's take a look at the best practices to avoid that. First things first, you have to know your product. Before diving into all the complex user behavior stuff, it is essential that you know what you're doing and how you're doing it. So some questions to ask are, what is it that I offer? How do people feel about my specific industry and my product? Can my team and the rest of the teams in my company define our value proposition, our tool, our product? And can I do it well? Who are my competitors? How are they converting? And finally, what is my conversion rate as of now? Once you have that data, we can move on to the bigger picture, which is analyzing visitor data. So basically, your target audience is very obviously the most important part of your conversion rate, planning, strategy, everything. But if your target audience isn't willing to buy, then there is no point in looking into conversion rate. So what you want to do is to look into their behavior, how they behave on your website, what they click on, what prompts them to leave, what prompts them to stay, so on. So the trick is to know how to analyze visitor behavior. For example, tools like Hotjar can help you figure out how they behave on your website with heat maps, while other tools like Google Analytics can tell you which pages they visit, how long they spend here, so and so. But the main thing to be careful about is to make sure that you dive deep enough into data and that you do your research properly, because the data you're going to collect here is going to be the base of your entire conversion boosting project. Making sure that you use the right metrics is also an essential step in our roadmap. This is because the reason why you're looking into your conversion rate and boosting it might be that you've seen the industry average or that you think yours is very low, but you just might be looking into the wrong data. Some metrics and KPIs that the B2B industry use for conversion optimization are cost per acquisition, bounce rate, click-through, time to value, customer reviews, customer feedback, and so. But the main thing is to make sure that the metric you're using is the right one for you and your specific solution, because every product and every business are different, and it is important that you distinguish yourself from the rest and don't compare yourself to them on this front. Much like choosing the right metrics, you might want to change or make some little changes to the conversion funnel for your own business. The traditional conversion funnel, as we are all aware, has 4 or sometimes 5 steps. It's awareness, interest, desire, and action. But for your own specific business, it might be a little bit different, and it's totally okay to add different steps or completely redefine it. What overrules everything is your specific business and the needs for it. And the last best practice of the research to convert stage is to plan it out. Now, this might sound like a no-brainer, but 68% of all businesses, most of them are small businesses, of course, they don't have a planned conversion project. So there are so many actionable tips, so many best practices, but if you cannot gather them together in your own personal plan, your conversion rate boost project just won't come through. So essentially, your conversion strategy is going to depend on 3 simple steps. You're going to want to figure out what draws people to your website and enhance it. You're going to want to figure out what the frictions are in the website and get rid of them completely. And you're going to figure out how you can push your visitors to convert/buy from you. And that's it. And that 3 steps are going to dictate the rest of the process for you. The third stage of the roadmap is a converting website experience. And our very first best practice is designing to convert. And you're going to want to make sure that 3 things are happening with your website. You're going to want to pay attention to visual hierarchy, which is one of the most important conversion rate optimization best practices to begin with. Here's an example from Monday.com. They know exactly how to direct the attention of the visitor of the website, and they just know that the attention is not gonna last. They make sure to direct it properly. The second thing you want to do is to place a CTA very close to the top or to the very top of the page, and you're going to make sure that what they see is your value proposition immediately, and then a complimentary visual, a glance or a semi-glance at it, and then immediately they see a CTA. Now, putting the CTA up top is not going to definitely guarantee that conversion rate's going to go up, but it's going to guarantee that there will be no friction when they want to convert and there is no button in place. And the third thing you want to do is to use convincing images. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean that you have to put your product out there and make it burst with value, but it can also mean that you can get psychological. For example, people are prone to trust things more if they see a face on it. So putting a happy face on your website can help, like in Get Responses case, and also like in Drift's case, using the gaze of the people on your website can help. For example, they are looking at the computer screen, which probably has drift on it, and they're looking so very happy. So that does a psychological trick on your visitors, and you want exactly that. Our next best practice is that you're gonna want to test what you're doing and then test it again. Here's an interesting stat for you. Only 52% of all businesses conduct A/B testing to increase conversion rate. And that means half of the entire business area does not do that. Now, it should go without saying that you should do A/B testing, but some don't. And I'm gonna show you how an A/B testing can change the game. Here's what Aaron, a tourist, did with their website through A/B testing, and it increased their conversion rate by 52%, and they couldn't have done it without A/B testing. So that goes to show that A/B testing is something that you cannot get rid of, that you cannot just ignore. You have to test it and test it again. I just covered the visual part, but here's the kind of more important part. The copy. You're gonna want to use great copy and no business lingo whatsoever. You're gonna want to make sure that 3 things are in place with your copy. First, your copy must focus on value and not futures. For example, look at what we do at UserGuiding's website. I mean, you can see it, right? Next, you're gonna wanna make sure that your copy is the center of everything. For example, Canva's example here, there are many images, but they're not as significant as the copy. That's because of the font they use, and that's because of the copy itself. And you wanna make sure you do that too. Lastly, your copy has to be short and concise. Here's a sad fact for you: no one wants to read anymore, even if it's important. So you just want to make sure that you format it so well that you get people, even trick them into reading your copy. Next best practice: a strong CTA is your very best friend. So here I'm going to show you 2 examples. For example, Zoom, they do CTAs really good because they care about the copy. It might be a little small maybe, and it might be a little invisible maybe, but it's on the top, it has good copy, and people know where to find it. Meanwhile, Ahrefs also does a great job because even though the copy isn't perfect, and it could be probably better, it's the very center of the screen with the color contrast and its positioning. So that's how you want to do CTA buttons. Just perfect. Number 13, friction is your worst enemy. You want to make sure that you design it perfectly, you test it again, but you still might have a low conversion rate. And the trick is to go back to number 10 and test again. While you're at it, it's important to know what friction might originate from. It could be too many breadcrumbs. People might have to visit too many pages before they reach their goal. It might be slow loading time. It might be a language barrier. Not offering different languages can affect visitors, or it just could be small bugs or glitches. Remember, keep that in mind. Just as a tiny element can increase your conversion rate, a tiny element can decrease it too. So take the measures needed. Number 14, details make all the difference. I just said it, tiniest things can affect your conversion rate. Let's just look at some examples, shall we? So Jotform uses a tiny little banner that says save 50%, which is in a kind of like an unconventional place and draws the visitor's attention right away. So it makes them interact with it more. Meanwhile, ClickUp uses this tiny little faded copy right next to its CTA. It's just a little detail, but it makes all the difference because it says free forever, no credit card, and it's so reassuring to see it, and we just give kudos to them for using that. And the last best practice of this stage of the roadmap is the faster the better. You want to make sure your website is fast enough so that people won't run away. In fact, here's an interesting stat for you. A 1-second delay of a website loading can make an 11% decrease in your page view numbers. And the average for desktop is already 2.5. That means you're going to be losing 30 of 100 visitors on a daily. So to make sure that you don't deal with all that, you want to make sure that your images on the website are minimized. You use a reliable website hosting platform, you maintain it regularly, and that you minify all code, HTML, JavaScript, whatever, and just make sure that website loads fast, because it's a very important thing for conversion rate. Now, after mindset, research, and website, we are onto this fourth stage of the roadmap, marketing to convert. And obviously, up until the website, it's fine to go that far, but if you want to take a step further and increase your conversion rate chances even more, converting through marketing is real, it's efficient, it's effective, and here are some best practices to do it right. Number one best practice is, of course, to prove your social proof. So an interesting stat again, 92% of all buyers consider testimonials when making a purchase. And another one, 63% of these trust a website that features testimonials a lot more. So like video at UserGuiding, you want to make sure that you show off your testimonials and just trust that people are going to understand that other people trust you and start trusting you. Next, you're going to want to start conversion email campaigns. Now, email has always been a strong tenet of marketing, and it would be a crying shame if you didn't use it for conversion rates as well. But here's the sad truth. People who have visited your website, who have put stuff in their cart, who have started a free trial, aren't necessarily going to remember all that. And they just won't follow through. Unless, of course, you send the right emails. And there are some good practices to start doing that. Here are some. First, you're gonna wanna make sure that you fill the subject line with value. Now, if you've been following me on the blog, you might have realized that I've been currently obsessing over ClickUp's email campaigns, and just look at it. The subject line bursts with value so much that even without opening the email, I know they have something to offer to me and I'm gonna be interested, so I just open it. Second, you're gonna have a cool design. Like ClickUp, I also obsess over Canva's emails as well. They have all these pictures, visuals, and it's just so engaging. You want to make sure you have that too. Next, you want to be careful with your in-email CTAs. Just because you're outside the website doesn't mean you cannot use CTAs, CTA buttons also. I especially love AppSumo's example. They use a different CTA copy for every product they introduce through email, and it's just such a perfect practice, and it should be done by more people. Lastly, you want to get those people back to your territory no matter what. So I have started using Asana's free trial, and they haven't sent me so many emails, and I'm not even bothered because here, look, they sent me insights on what I've been doing. They sent me different options that I can check out. They sent me resources and everything. So they just really want me back. It might get spammy, but it shows how much they care and how much they want you back on the platform. I just say kudos to that. Next best practice is to do in-app marketing the right way. Now, I'm just gonna jump into my example because I'm very excited about it. Here's the pricing page of app queues, and you might notice a little banner up top. It says start the free course. And it's great for two reasons. Firstly, you can very easily promote your own product with a user onboarding course and get people to buy from you. And secondly, even if they're not going to buy from you, you can get their emails and contribute to future conversions by sending them different emails that can engage them later on. It's just perfect in-app marketing. Our next best practice is to use chatbots to your advantage. You're probably using some sort of chatbot solution, but you probably are not doing it the way Intercom does. Intercom uses their chatbot to prompt a pop quiz where they ask visitors what they associate customer engagement with, and upon getting an answer, they kind of pave the way into pitching in a solution. They even ask for a company name and other details. And what is more interesting and cool than a chatbot doing the sales for you? may I ask? Of course, you don't have to use your chatbot as a salesperson. You can use it for different things like showcasing campaigns and deals, showcasing your social channels, answering questions of visitors who are facing friction, just showcasing different product features, collecting feedback even, and all that. Just make sure that you use the current technology to your advantage. Our next best practice is using your own unique voice against competitors. So showcasing your strengths and weaknesses openly and clearly can be a good way of converting. And it is an even better way of converting when you compare yourself to your competition and show that you do have some weaknesses, but there are strengths that you excel better at than your competition. So you can use blog posts and social media posts and other medium to do that. Just make sure that you do your research the right way and you don't lie at all, because some industries are not very big and it can very easily turn into petty fights, so don't do that. And our last best practice for the marketing to convert stage of the roadmap is expanding to other platforms, and to do it right. Because for example, if you're a B2B business, LinkedIn and Twitter might be your territory, but some B2B businesses can also go to TikTok, and e-commerce businesses can handle themselves on Facebook. It's just finding your audience in the right places and at the right time. So you want to expand, but expand at the right places. Presence on other platforms then gives you the opportunity to do three things. You're going to be increasing your brand awareness, you're going to be able to be more visible and get more reviews on different platforms, and lastly, you're going to be available on all those, and then people can ask for support through those platforms as well, which is something you always want to make sure you do. And the very last stage of our conversion strategy roadmap is conversion optimized mobile experiences, and you do not want to overlook this, because in 2021 72% of all e-commerce sales have been performed on mobile. This gives you enough reason to look into the best practice I'm about to tell you. Now, for this stage, I only have one best practice, and it is to acknowledge mobile experiences and optimize for it. This is because we spend more than 3 hours a day looking at our phone, and we check it an average of 58 times. So this gives us enough reason to start looking into how we're going to optimize it. And how we're going to optimize it is pretty simple. With a mobile experience, you have to make sure 4 things are going on. First, make sure that it loads even faster. Make sure that your visuals and fonts are minimized. Make sure that you go easy on the buttons and CTAs, and make sure the checkout process is simpler. If you think that optimizing for mobile isn't necessary, you're going to want to rethink that, because Google has recently decided that they're going to make it harder for websites that don't optimize for mobile experiences. And if you have already optimized for mobile, there's always places and spaces to grow in. You can always do a lot better than that. So just start optimizing for mobile. So to wrap up, let's just go over the 5 stages of the roadmap. You want to make sure your mindset is set right. You want to make sure you do your research correctly. You want to make sure that your website experience is designed well. You want to make sure the marketing is right, and you want to make sure you are optimized for mobile experiences. I always say the success of a CRO strategy depends essentially on whether your decisions are aligned with the product at hand. And if you know what your product is and who you're working for, the rest is going to work out on its own. This was Sarah from User Guiding. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to comment if I forgot something, and give us a thumbs up if you feel like it. See you next time.